A son finds his family dead with gunshot wounds. Who would commit such a crime? John's son Nicholas came home. His father laid on the couch with his face covered in blood. His mother and two young brothers were drenched in blood. It was a sight no teenage boy should ever see. A heinous crime was committed against the Browning family on Powersville Street in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. Let's find out why. Subscribe to the channel and tune in. Meet the Browning family, an outwardly perfect family from Baltimore, Maryland, USA, whose story took a chilling turn that shocked their community and the nation. The father, John W. Browning, was a highly respected attorney, while the mother, Tamara, dedicated herself to being a loving housewife. They had three promising sons, Nicholas, Benjamin, and Gregory. But behind their seemingly idyllic life lay secrets that would lead to an unforgettable and tragic series of events. The Browning family was respectful and very intelligent, but they did not deserve what came next. Like and subscribe as we delve into this horror case. On February 1st, 2008, Nicholas spent the night at his friend's house, Ryan Fingles, along with their other two friends, Taylor Tewksbury and Alexander Smith. The friends played video games and watched movies that night. Nicholas and his friends arrived at his home after spending the night at Ryan's house. They could tell that something wasn't right. A killer had entered Nick's home using the back door and in cold blood murdered his father, who was sleeping on the sofa with a gunshot to the temple. The killer went upstairs to the bedrooms of John's wife and his two boys and murdered them in their sleep. In cold blood. The killer then took the used gun and discarded it in some bushes in nearby houses.
After he shot them, he took it down to a nearby street around the corner, threw it in some bushes.
When John's son Nicholas came home, his father laid on the couch with his face covered in blood. His mother and two young brothers were drenched in blood, dead in their respective bedrooms. The whole family had been shot in their sleep. The police were called.
Saturday night, they received a 911 call from 15-year-old Nicholas Browning. He told police he had spent Friday night and Saturday at a friend's house, and when he came home, he found his father dead inside the residence.
Police say the bodies of four people, a man, a woman, and two boys, were found after 5 yesterday afternoon at their home in the 10,000th block of Powers Avenue in Cockeysville. John lay dead on the couch with a gun wound to his head. Tamara lay dead in her bed, and so did 13-year-old Gregory and 11-year-old Benjamin. But nothing had been stolen despite there being high-value gadgets and equipment. It was then evident that nothing was stolen from the Browning house. None of the doors and windows were broken. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. The Brownings had been murdered in cold blood. Nicholas and his friends were brought to the police station for questioning. The four of them were all minors, around 15 to 16 at the time. The chilling and twisted truth behind the four homicides slowly unfolded. The boys were interrogated separately, and their stories were almost consistent. They all had an alibi, save for when Nicholas went home at night to go steal the family car.
To be 100% honest with me. Right. I want you to tell me what's been going on and explain. Who are you with all day?
I was with,
Taylor explained they were together the whole night.
all of you were there? Yes.
But as the interrogation went on, it was revealed on 3 accounts of Ryan, Alex, and Taylor that Nicholas had been gone for more than 3 hours.
It's real important.
No, I don't think he was.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, no.
He wasn't there.
He went out.
Which made him a suspect, but he had an alibi. Nicholas had an alibi for that time too. This was his alibi. Nicholas took more than 3 hours to return. Nicholas explained that he had found the lights on when he got home. He couldn't immediately sneak inside to get the car keys.
The keys were, where my parents were, the lights were on in the house.
So he had dozed off in the car whilst he waited for his parents to sleep. It was now around 5 in the morning when Nicholas was then woken up by the call from Alexander. Nicholas noticed that the lights were still on inside his home. Then Nicholas walked back to Ryan's house. The friends then showered and had breakfast. Nicholas tried to call his parents, but he couldn't get hold of them. Then he tried to reach his siblings to no avail. He kept on calling and leaving text messages. As the detectives continued to investigate, they found holes in their stories, so they decided to dig deep, and the investigators discovered that according to Nicholas, his father abused him emotionally and physically. John also yelled at Nicholas, and he embarrassed him in front of his friends. He was too authoritative. Nicholas had even nicknamed him Heater. Nicholas also complained about how his brothers were annoying. He also hated the fact that his mother was an alcoholic. The investigators also learned that Nicholas got in trouble for drinking alcohol But ultimately, the investigators believed that Nicholas was responsible for his family's murders. Nicholas denied any involvement in the murders. Meanwhile, he showed no sign that he was affected by his family's deaths. He showed a complete lack of remorse, empathy, or sadness. Nicholas talked about his family's murders casually. He even dozed off at one point when he was left alone during the interrogation. When detectives told Nick that his friends had been released, he relaxed, even asked for food, which he gladly ate. For someone who had just lost his family to a violent and gruesome crime, he was too calm and composed, so the detectives put more pressure to try and get him to confess to the crimes. He eventually cracked and said,
Half hour.
He was sleeping.
Yeah, standing over him. And then I went between putting the gun up to his head and pulling it back down and up.
Do you have a pillow up too? Or?
No, just the gun.
When Nicholas returned home to get the car on the sleepover night, he saw John sitting on the couch whilst the TV was on. Nicholas saw an opportunity to end his father's life and the misery he inflicted on him. He knew that one of his father's guns was out on the workshop bench. So Nicholas retrieved the gun before he went over to his father. He realized that John was sleeping. 30 minutes later, he pulled the trigger, shooting John in the head.
The gun was... I'm not sure if I meant to pull the trigger or if it just...
Then Nicholas went into his mother's room and shot her dead before he also shot his siblings. Nicholas claimed that he killed his brothers because he wanted to eliminate any possible witnesses to their parents' murders. But it turned out that he had told his friends earlier that he was tired of his father telling him what to do, so he was going to kill him. And he was also going to kill his brothers so he wouldn't have to share the inheritance. After the confession, Nicholas told the police the location where he had disposed of the murder weapon. The gun was soon recovered. He was arrested and sentenced to 4 lifetimes in prison. This crime as a tragedy highlights not only the issues of mental health and abuse, but also the dangers of unsecured guns in the home. Leaving a loaded weapon accessible creates a lethal opportunity, especially in situations of abuse where tensions are already high. Safe storage laws and better background checks could play a role in preventing these incidents. But gun violence is a complex issue. We also need to address the root causes of domestic violence and expand access to mental health services. Only through a comprehensive approach that tackles gun access, mental health, and domestic violence support can we hope to prevent these horrific situations. Like and subscribe for more,